The shattered spires of High Varnock loomed over the battlefield as the orc horde surged forward. Commissar Varro Drake stood atop a barricade of rubble, rallying the battered Varnock 82nd Imperial Guard. "Men of the Emperor," he roared, "hold the line." The guardsmen unleashed a volley of lass fire, cutting down dozens of orcs, but the tide seemed endless. A towering orc knob smashed through the barricade, its chain axe roaring. Drake met it with his power sword, ducking its wild swings and driving his blade deep into the beast's chest. Above, Valkyries swooped in, deploying Kaskin stormtroopers who cut through the orcs with precision. The tide of battle shifted, but hope dimmed as a massive stomper emerged, its weapons charging. The stomper unleashed a barrage, its crude cannons obliterating sections of the barricade. Drake narrowly avoided a blast, his Vox bead crackling with reports of heavy casualties. "We need more firepower," he barked. A squad of Kaskin advanced with melter bombs, their daring run ending in fiery explosions that crippled the machine's legs. With the stomper faltering, Drake rallied his men for a final push. Side by side with the Kaskin, the guardsmen surged forward, their cries echoing over the battlefield. Under relentless fire, they overwhelmed the orcs, leaving the battlefield littered with green corpses and shattered war machines. Under the Emperor's gaze, the guardsmen turned the tide, their bravery breaking the orcs and ensuring humanity's victory, though at great cost. Drake, bloodied but standing, cast his gaze over the ruins of High Varnock, vowing they would rebuild in the Emperor's name.
The man stumbled through the twilight-lit expanse, a wasteland of shimmering obsidian and jagged spires. The ground beneath his boots felt unnervingly hollow, as if it held only the thinnest veil over an abyss that yearned to swallow him whole. He had followed the cryptic maps and whispers of 1,000 forgotten texts, their origins unclear, their truths untested. Yet here he stood, at the end of his quest, gazing at the colossal throne resting directly upon the cracked, glassy surface of the ground. It was impossibly vast, its surface etched with runes that shifted when observed, their forms eluding memory the moment they passed from view. The air buzzed with an oppressive silence, as if sound itself refused to trespass near this ancient seat. The throne dominated the landscape, a void among voids that seemed to devour the faint light around it. Its base sprawled across the surface of the wasteland, black tendrils of stone-like growth anchoring it to the ground, as though it had erupted from the earth itself. It was empty, yet the very emptiness of the throne spoke louder than the presence of any ruler. The man's heart thudded as he approached, each step dragging more than his body. It felt as though his very soul were being siphoned by an unseen force. The air grew colder, heavy with the weight of timelessness. He clutched the talisman around his neck, a relic he had stolen from a dying cultist who warned him never to venture here. The memory of the man's shrieked warnings now clawed at his mind. A whisper broke the silence, not with sound, but with thought. "Why do you come, little speck of existence?" The man froze, his thoughts no longer his own. The question rippled through his consciousness, unraveling the threads of his resolve. He had come to understand the purpose of the throne, to uncover the identity of its absent king. But now, the weight of that ambition crushed him. The runes on the throne began to glow faintly, as if amused by his torment. Each flicker seemed to peel away his memories, leaving only the stark realization that he was utterly insignificant. Before him, the throne's darkness began to shift, revealing shapes that defied comprehension. Eyes that weren't eyes blinked into existence, staring at him from dimensions he couldn't fathom. The being that once ruled from the throne wasn't gone, he realized. It had simply outgrown the confines of existence. Its form was now everywhere, in the decay of stars, in the birth of madness, in the quiet spaces where the universe forgot to breathe. And now, it turned its attention to him, a gnat daring to seek the secrets of gods. The man fell to his knees, the weight of the entity's gaze crushing his spirit. His body began to disintegrate, not into ash, but into moments, his birth, his laughter, his fears, all devoured and scattered across the fabric of reality. The throne remained empty, but it was never truly vacant. It held not a ruler, but hunger, an ancient void that consumed all who dared to approach. The last flicker of his consciousness begged for mercy, but mercy was a human invention. Here, there was only the vast, indifferent void. As the man's presence faded entirely, the throne's runes dimmed, satisfied for now. The silence returned, thicker than before, waiting patiently for the next fool to discover the map, to follow the whispers, and to offer themselves to the throne of the empty king. The surface of Vexus 9 was a rotting wasteland, its air thick with the stench of sulfur and decay. Captain Idris Kellen stood on a crumbling ridge, his breath shallow in his suit. The distant hum vibrating through the ground felt alive, a pulsing heartbeat from something ancient and hungry. Behind him, Lieutenant Mara Vell frantically worked to patch the plasma repeater. Her hands trembled as she glanced at the horizon. The shadow looming there had already devoured half the settlers. "It's coming," Idris whispered. The hum became a deafening vibration. Then it appeared. Synthelos, a colossal, rotting entity of glowing green and fiery orange light, moved like a god born of nightmares. Streams of energy spiraled into its gaping maw, which opened like the mouth of hell. As it fed, the terrain withered, leaving behind smoldering, barren ruin. "It's alive in ways we can't understand," Mara murmured, her voice trembling. "Focus," Idris snapped, his stomach churning with fear. Synthelos wasn't just a monster. It was entropy incarnate, a living void of hunger. Its roar was a chorus of unearthly screams, the voices of everything it had ever consumed. Idris felt its thoughts press against his mind, a wordless demand. "Feed me." He fired his ion rifle, but the bolts dissipated harmlessly. The glow in its core brightened, mocking them. "It's draining everything," Mara screamed as her suit lights flickered. "Weapons, power, even us." Idris's eyes fell on the ship's cracked energy core. Its failsafe could release a plasma explosion large enough to obliterate Synthelos and them. "Mara," he said, his voice taut. "Trigger the core." Her eyes widened. "That'll kill us. If we don't stop it, it'll destroy everything. Mara hesitated, then nodded. She ran to the core, her hands flying over the controls as Idris unloaded his rifle to draw Xanthilos' attention. The pull from its maw intensified, dragging debris, and even the ash in the air toward its glowing mouth. "I can hear them," Mara cried, clutching her head. "The people it's consumed, they're still screaming inside it." "Focus," Idris shouted. Xanthilos surged forward, its grotesque body pulsating. Mara screamed. "It's ready." The core detonated in a blinding eruption of plasma. The shockwave incinerated everything in its path. Xanthilos let out a final, blood-curdling wail as its form collapsed inward, imploding into a blackened crater. The voices stopped. Idris awoke to silence, the air thick with ash. Mara lay nearby, alive but battered. Beyond her, the crater smoldered. Xanthilos was gone, but the wrongness in the air remained, as though part of it lingered. Idris rose, staring at the stars. Somewhere out there, other ancient things waited, hungering for life. And this was only the beginning.